Okay, all jurors are present. Everyone else may be seated. Defense, when you're ready, you may call your next witness.
Yes, ma'am. Jessica Clark, please.
Good morning. Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You can put your hand down and be seated. Please speak into the stationary microphone that's directly in front of you. State your full name and spell your last name.
Jessica Clark Flournoy. Clark, C-L-A-R-K. Flournoy, F-L-O-U-R-N-O-Y.
Thank you. You may inquire when you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Why are you here today?
I do not wish to be here. I've been served a subpoena.
Okay. And what is your occupation?
At the moment, I am an admissions counselor.
And how long have you done that?
An admissions counselor since 2015.
Okay. And what did you do before that?
Prior to that, guidance and counseling and ESE family counseling. Well, guidance and counseling now, but prior to that was ESE family counseling.
Okay. And was that your first position with regard to education in the private schools?
No, I originally started off as a substitute teacher back in 1999 and then secured a teaching position for about 3.5 years, and then from there moved into a behavioral specialist for a short period of time, and then that led me into the ESE family counseling role.
Okay. And what is your educational background?
I have a bachelor's in political science and sociology and a master's in mental health counseling
Do you hold any professional certificates?
with the Florida Department of Education, guidance and counseling.
Okay. Guidance and counseling, is that the certifications that you have on your teaching certificate?
Correct.
Okay. And you said for a short period of time you were a behavioral specialist? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it was basically coaching teachers and staff on how to manage disruptive behaviors if a student is exhibiting disruptive behaviors in the classroom or throughout the school. So basically coaching them and creating plans of incentives that would allow the student to, work his or her way up with an incentive plan to receive rewards.
Okay. And so from there you became an ESE family counselor?
Yes.
And how long did you do that?
From 2005 until 2013.
Okay. As an ESE family counselor, did you attend IEP meetings?
Yes.
Did you have any input with regard to the amount of time your students should receive your counseling services?
I was a part of the committee that made that decision, yes.
Did you have input regarding the social and emotional goals that the students would have?
Yes.
How many schools did you service at one time as an ESE family counselor?
It's hard to say because each year was different. Sometimes I would be assigned 3 schools. Other times I was assigned maybe 8 schools. So it could vary.
And about how many students would you have in a particular year on your caseload?
It's hard to say or to remember. It was from servicing 6 or 7 schools.
Okay.
You can imagine the number.
Did you provide services, counseling services to students one-on-one or in a group setting?
Both.
And the amount of time you would give somebody services, where did that come from?
That was in the IEP.
Okay, so whatever the IEP said, that's the amount of minutes per week or month or whatever that you...
Correct.
Okay, and what about the group and individual? Was that on the IEP or was that your discretion?
It was at the counselor's discretion.
Okay. Did you collaborate with the teachers of your students?
Yes.
Okay. What about their support facilitators?
Yes.
So if you had concerns about a student, who would you go to?
I would go to the ESC department, the ESC specialist, or sometimes the grade level administrator.
When a new student is placed on your caseload, what do you generally review about them before you meet them?
The IEP.
The most recent one, previous ones?
The most recent one, yes.
Okay. Do you remember Nikolas Cruz?
I do.
Who do you remember him to be?
I'm sorry?
Who do you remember him to be?
When I first met him,
Well, was he one of your students?
he was one of my students
Okay, and where was that?
at West Glades Middle School.
Okay. And were you his family counselor?
Yes.
Okay, can you describe your role as his family counselor?
Was to provide counseling services, working on his social emotional goals, as written in his IEP, so that's what we would work on, the counseling goals.
And are family counselors required to hold any licenses in mental health?
No, not necessarily, no.
Okay. And so would you say that your services are aimed at helping ESE students succeed academically?
Right,
Okay.
yes.
And do you remember what years you were Nicholas's family counselor at West Glades?
2011, for about 2.5 years, so from 2011 to maybe December 2013,
Okay, and was that his whole time at West Glades as far as you know?
as far as I know, yes.
Okay. Do you recall what his IEP eligibilities were when he came into the school?
I think he had an eligibility of EBD,
Okay, do you remember any other ones?
maybe speech and language
Okay.
as well.
And so, did you review the IEP that he came into West Glades with from his elementary school?
Yes.
Are you aware whether, while Nicholas was at West Glades, was he receiving any other ESE services?
I believe he was receiving speech and language, and he also had a support facilitator as well.
Okay. Would you say that he was receiving pretty much every service an ESE student could receive at West Glades?
At the school level, yes.
Okay. And based on his IEP, do you remember how many minutes per week you met with him?
Initially, I think it was 30 minutes per week, and it increased.
Okay, do you remember when it increased?
Maybe going into his 8th grade year, maybe.
Okay. Was there a maximum amount of time that a student could receive counseling services?
I think 30 was the ideal, but we went up to 45 minutes.
Okay, so initially he was receiving the maximum, but then you said he went up to...
45 minutes.
Okay. And did you document all your meetings with him?
Yes.
Did you review those documents prior to coming in to testify?
Did I review some of my documents?
The notes that you made,
I
yeah.
perused some of my notes, yes.
Okay. May I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as 5F for identification on the first page of the certification. And I just want you to tell me if you recognize those documents.
These are my notes.
Okay, so those are notes from your meetings with Nikolas while he was your student from 2011 to 2013?
Correct.
And were those notes written during or shortly after your visits with Nikolas?
Yes.
Okay. Do those documents fairly and accurately depict all of the notes that you took?
Yes.
Thank you. Judge, at this time we would request that defense 5F be entered into evidence.
Okay, does the state have any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, without objection, what's been marked for identification as Defense Composite Exhibit 5F will be received as Defense 52.
When you first began meeting with Nikolas in the 6th grade, were you meeting with him in group sessions or individual sessions?
Initially, the group session. It was a group session.
Okay, and do you remember how long you met with him in group sessions?
Maybe about 2.5 months, maybe 3 months in a group.
Okay, and then after that?
It turned to individual sessions.
Okay. Do you recall alternating for a couple of months also group and individual?
I don't recall.
Okay. So your recollection is that after a few months you only saw him individually?
Mm-hmm.
And did you ever meet his mother, Linda?
Yes.
Do you remember how many times you met her?
I don't remember how many times I did meet with her, no.
Okay, what was your overall impression of Linda?
Wonderful mother. Just wanted the best for her son. Very concerned about him. Very involved. She was involved.
I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in just a minute, but just overall, what are your impressions of how Nikolas did academically at Westglades Middle?
He struggled academically. He had academic challenges. He was very insecure in his abilities, so he definitely struggled.
Okay, what about his behavior?
I think over time, his behavior worsened. In the beginning, I think he was really trying to do well in school academically and to do well all around, but it did progressively, got worse over time.
Okay. In your sessions with Nikolas, did you feel he was forthcoming with you?
I did.
Okay. Was he ever disrespectful to you in any way?
Not to me, no.
Okay. So you said in the beginning you thought academically he was really trying to do well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what sort of things would he do that would make you think he was trying to do well in school?
He was very concerned about his grades. He always wanted to check Pinnacle, always wanted to see, if he was able to raise a grade point average. He worried about assignments, due dates, and he really wanted to do well. He said that he would try harder to improve his grades. So, but he was always wanting to check Pinnacle. Can we look at my grades? Can we look at my grades?
Okay. Can you tell the jury what Pinnacle is in case they don't know?
It's a system where students' grades are recorded and they can go in and check their assignments and check their academic progress along the way.
Did he seem to you to have problems keeping himself organized?
Yes.
Okay, what about keeping track of his assignments?
Yes.
Okay. And would you consider that an executive functioning skill?
keeping track of his work?
I just know that he struggled with that.
Okay. Did he ever talk to you about why he thought he was struggling so hard to stay on top of his work and get his work done?
No, the only thing that comes to mind is I know he said that sometimes it was very challenging for him to concentrate and to focus. But nothing else really comes to mind right now. I do remember him saying that he had a challenging time staying focused in class.
Okay. Did he seem to you to be overwhelmed by the demands academically?
Sustained. Ask open-ended questions, please. This is direct examination.
Okay. Do you remember any other issues that he had academically with being able to keep up with the work?
He had a lot of anxiety about it. Just, he did not have a lot of self-confidence in his abilities to perform well in school.
And how do you think he felt about his inability to do the work, to keep up?
Well, he wasn't happy about it. He was sad about that.
Okay, did he talk to you about any things that he would do in class that would show that he was not happy about it,
He was
embarrassed by it?
very nervous about, other people knowing, like if the teacher would pass out graded work, he would grab it and quickly crumble it up and shove it in his book bag, not even knowing whether or not he passed or not. He was just very nervous and afraid about other people seeing what kind of grade he scored. So, he was just very nervous about people knowing his grades.
Okay, and what about advocating for himself? Did you work on that with him?
We tried working on that. He didn't like to ask for help in class. He was very nervous about people knowing what he didn't know. And so we worked on maybe nonverbal cues. Maybe like I gave him a strategy to use like a blue note card or something for him to be able to place it on his desk. And that would indicate to the teachers that he's asking for help. He needs help without having to say it out loud.
Okay, and did the teachers know about that?
And that was discussed with the teachers prior to enacting the strategy.
Okay, do you know whether he ever used that blue note card?
I don't remember if he used it or not.
So overall, was Nikolas able to maintain good grades while he was at Westglades?
No.
Did he ever have any successes, any small successes?
I think that in the 6th grade he tried to put forth a lot of effort and to improve his grades, and there were little moments where it seemed like it was on the upswing, but not sustainable.
Okay, so when he would do well, how did he talk to you about that and how he felt about that?
He felt good about himself. Something as simple as raising a grade point average from an F to a D. He felt very good about that.
Okay, let's talk about how Nikolas did socially at Westglades. Do you know whether he had many friends?
I don't know.
Did he ever talk to you about friends, wanting to have friends?
Yes, he did want to have friends. He wanted to be liked by his peers. Mm-hmm.
And did he seem successful in that, to your knowledge?
I think he struggled with that, with, making friends.
Okay. Did he tell you how it made him feel?
He was sad about that. He really wanted to be accepted by his peers and to be liked. He did.
Okay. Did you feel that he was not successful in that?
I think he struggled in that area, yes.
Do you remember ever talking to Nikolas about his brother?
I do.
Do you remember what you talked to him about with regard to his brother Zachary?
He was very nervous about the possibility of Zachary catching up to his grade level. That made him very anxious. And I think, if I can recall, that he had mentioned that his brother would, make him feel bad about himself.
In what way?
Maybe call him a name, call him stupid or something like that.
Okay. Would you describe Nikolas as a bully?
The grades that I had him for 6th and 7th and some of 8th, no. He was so consumed with being liked and wanting people to like him.
Other than him telling you he was sad, do you remember him saying anything else about not having any friends?
No, I don't recall.
Okay, if I were to show you one of your notes, would that maybe refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Okay. May I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm going to show you your notes from April 10th of 2013. If you want to just read that to yourself, and then if that does refresh your recollection.
April 10th?
Yes.
What's your question?
If he ever expressed to you any other feelings about not being able to make friends at West Glades.
About not being able to make friends.
Yes.
And you refer to April 10th?
Yes.
April 10th, it says that he was feeling pleased with himself because he was starting to be noticed by his peers around school.
Okay. I may be looking at the wrong one.
Okay.
So, to your knowledge, was he able to maintain any significant friendships at West Glades?
That I don't know.
Okay. All right. How did Nikolas do behaviorally at West Glades?
I think initially he was trying really hard to do well, and over time he started having issues with managing his behavior.
Okay. Was he exhibiting disruptive behaviors?
Yes.
Okay. Can you give me some examples of that?
From what I can recall, laughing, doing a lot of laughing in class, and maybe blurting out inappropriate things in class.
Did he seem obsessive to you?
Obsessive?
Were there any things he obsessed about?
Initially, he was worried about his grades. That seemed to preoccupy his mind initially.
Okay. Did he later appear to have any more concerning obsessions?
Not that I can recall. Is something in my notes you want me to refer to?
In just a moment. Did there come a time when he wasn't permitted to go to walk around the school by himself?
There did come a time where he had to have an escort to go from class to class and to go to lunch as well.
Okay. Do you know how he felt about that?
And I don't think he liked it much. No.
Do you know if he had any issues getting to and from school on the bus?
I do remember that there was a time where his mom had to provide the transportation because, and I don't remember what the incident was, but there was something that did happen on the bus, and his mom had to provide transportation for him for a short period of time.
Okay. Did you feel that he had trouble transitioning from one thing or place to another?
Over time, yes.
Do you recall him ever getting in trouble for destroying property at school?
That I don't recall.
Just one moment. If I were to show you one of your notes, would that refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Okay. May I approach? I'm going to show you your note from 11/25/13.
Okay. Okay.
Does that refresh your recollection?
I mean, if it's in the notes, it happened. Do I remember it necessarily? No, but if it's there, it happened.
Okay, and what does your note indicate?
It says that he was not present on this day for his counseling session. The ESEA specialist had informed the therapist that he was sent home early, and the reason why is because he was in the boys' bathroom and he ripped apart the faucet to the sink inside the boys' bathroom. And as a result, he had to be escorted to the assistant principal's office.
Okay, and do you know ultimately what the consequence of that was?
According to the note, it says that the student was to attend the Promise program over the next 3 days for damaging school property.
Okay, and do you know whether he ever completed it?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know.
Was Nikolas removed from class regularly?
For what? For services?
Bad behavior. Sorry.
I don't recall, honestly.
Okay, did you ever talk to him about internal suspension?
You want to refer to a note or something? Because I don't recall.
Okay, if you want to look at your note from May 22nd of 2013.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
May 22nd of 2013.
Okay.
I need to just check the page because our pages are different than theirs.
Okay.
I can see it for 1 second, I'm sorry. Thank you.
So I'm going to refer you to page 2304, May 22nd of 2013.
See? Okay.
What did he tell you about internal suspension?
He said going away to the Promise program, he said he did okay, and he said that he actually preferred going back there, and he explained that because the Promise program did not have a lot of students there, and because there were not a lot of students there, he was able to get a lot of his work done.
Okay. But in this note, though, this is before the Promise Program incident, right?
AES, I believe.
Okay. Was there a class when he was in the 7th grade where he didn't misbehave? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
Okay, if I were to show you a note on that, would that refresh your
Sure.
recollection? Okay, I'm gonna just check the page. Okay, that's, date. 9/19.
Okay, I'm going to refer you to the note from September 19th of 2012.
September 19th. Okay,
And do you remember what he told you about that 4th period class?
I can tell you what I wrote. He said that he's been uncontrollably laughing in three of his classes, and he explained that he can't control himself when he starts to laugh.
Okay, did he talk to you about his 4th period class in that note?
4th period class, he says he said he doesn't misbehave in his 4th period class. And
Why?
And I questioned him as to why he does not, and he explained that his 4th period teacher is strict, and she runs a structured classroom, and no one in that class gets out of line.
Okay. I want to go back just for a minute, because there were a couple of notes about his academic struggles. Do you remember talking to him about his technology class?
I don't remember offhand. I know that, can you point to that in the notes for me?
Yeah. Do you know what the technology class is?
His computer class?
I'm going to point you to April 11th
Okay,
of 2012.
okay. And so according to my notes, he said that he expressed that he was nervous about the new technology class because he doesn't know his measurements.
Okay.
And he went on to explain that while he gets world history, like he gets it, in science and math, he doesn't really understand language arts and reading.
Okay. Do you remember writing a note about what your opinion was about why he's struggled so much academically?
And I don't remember offhand, no ma'am.
Okay, so if you look at the March 7th, 2012 note, would that maybe refresh your recollection?
March 7th?
Uh-huh. March 7th, it's on SBBC 2282.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize, it's his opinion, not your opinion, I'm sorry.
Okay. March 7th. Okay, so what's your question? I'm sorry.
Did he tell you why he thought he struggled so much academically?
He said his biggest challenge slash struggle in school is understanding and comprehending the work.
Okay. So he's telling you he doesn't understand his schoolwork.
According to the notes.
Okay. Do you recall telling him that he may have to go to an EBD center or a different school if he doesn't
I don't remember.
behave better? Okay. If I were to show you a note about that, would that refresh your recollection?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. It's 22. Okay, I'm going to point you to the May 23rd of 2012 note.
Okay.
Let's see if that refreshes your recollection.
I'm sorry, May 12th?
23rd of 2012.
Oh, May 23rd. Okay. Okay. We went over, we did discuss that regarding the consequences, the risks and the potential consequences that he would face if his poor behavior persists. And it does mention about possibly being sent to a different school and all. It says, therapists inform the student that if he continues to demonstrate lack of self-control in school, administration and lack of self-control. Lack of self-control in school, administration and ESE department may begin to wonder if this school is the appropriate setting for him, and could possibly make a recommendation for him to attend a behavioral school or even an SED center.
Do you recall him ever telling you he wanted to leave the school?
I don't recall.
Okay. If I were to show you a note from 8th grade, would that perhaps refresh your recollection?
Perhaps.
Let me just find the page. I'm going to show you from October 23rd of 2013. See if that refreshes your recollection.
What's the date, Ms. Cruz?
October 23rd.
Okay. It says that a part of the notes says that Nikolas stated that he doesn't want to go to West Glade Middle anymore because he believes that he's wasting other people's time, as he is always getting into trouble. He expressed that he believes, he expressed that he is basically behaving badly in hopes that it will lead him into withdrawing from the school and enrolling at another school.
Okay. And do you remember him talking to you about how difficult it was for him to prepare for and take tests?
I don't recall.
Okay, if I were to show you a note from October 24th of 2012, would that maybe refresh your recollection?
It can help.
Okay.
You said October 24th,
Yeah, it's 2297.
2012?
Yeah, 10/24/2012.
Okay. I don't see it. Can you help me?
Yes. If you look at the top of the page.
You said the date, 10/24/2012, right? Because it stops.
Oh, yeah, the order.
The order.
Weird.
What was your question? Can you repeat that?
Did he
please?
talk to you about difficulty taking tests
Okay.
and preparing?
It says that he expressed concerns regarding his performance on his most recent science test. He explained that he didn't do so well on the test because he didn't prepare for it. He says he doesn't know how to study for a test. And when he does try to study for one, he seems to forget the test material. He went on to say that he is often distracted by his thoughts and is unable to concentrate on tests.
Okay. Did he ever offer you any excuses for his behavior, or what you thought were excuses?
I don't recall offhand. I do know that I've challenged him. I did challenge him a few times on some of the choices that he made in class or something like that, but I don't. Is there something you can point to me?
Well, I'll just ask, did he ever tell you he couldn't control himself? He was out of his control?
According to the notes, laughing. He mentioned something about laughing. He can't control it.
Okay. Did he ever talk to you about medication?
No.
Okay. Do you think Westglades was the appropriate educational environment for Nikolas?
Over time, it became clear that it was not the appropriate place for him.
Okay, why?
Because the resources that they had available, they applied every resource that they possibly could, and they just did not have everything to be able to meet his needs, all of the resources to meet his needs there.
Okay. May I have a moment, Judge?
You may.
I don't have any more questions right now. Thank you.
Alrighty, State, do you have any questions?
Good. I'm going to have a lengthy cross, and it's 12 now, so we can do it after the break.
Sure. They're asking to finish your testimony after the lunch break.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to break, it's 12 o'clock now, we're going to break for lunch until 1:15. Members of the jury, please be back at 1:15 where we will resume this testimony. You're excused, you don't have to sit there by any means, but please don't discuss your testimony with anyone during the break, okay? And if you can please be back here about 1:10. Thank you so much. Okay, we're in recess. The jurors have been excused. Okay, the jurors are present. The witness is present on the stand. State, you may begin when you're ready.
May it please the court, thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Flournoy. How are you?
Good afternoon. Well, thank you.
Of course, I want to talk to you about the time that you were at Westglades and that you were the family counselor to Mr. Cruz. Okay?
Yes.
First of all, so this goes back a number of years for you. This is about 9 and 10 years ago,
10 years.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you agree that most of your knowledge of this is by reading your notes as to the notes that you took at the time?
Quite a bit of the information, yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that you go to lots of schools, correct?
I did at the time when that was the role that I was employed as, yes.
Right. So you have students at each of, you said maybe 6 or 7 different schools you would go to?
At one point, yes.
Okay.
It depended on the school year. It varies, but yes.
Okay, so you don't specifically remember how many schools you were going to?
At that time?
Yes.
I don't.
Okay. So again, just so we remind everybody, it's the school year 11-12, the school year 12-13, and then only the fall of 13.
Correct.
Okay.
Only the fall.
Okay, yeah, August to December.
December.
Okay. So your role is you've got kids, I don't know, you're probably in the northern part of the county. I'm sure they keep you, at least the schools are fairly close, I hope. Are they?
Maybe north central area.
North central? Okay. So you're in the car a lot, you're traveling, and you have an appointment at a particular school, or did you do like all the kids in one school per day?
Correct. So for Westglades, it was twice a week.
Okay. For which school?
Westglades.
Westglades. Okay. So that's when you would go there, but you would see the defendant once a week.
Correct.
And you had a lot to keep track of, and that's why you kept notes, correct?
Correct.
All right, so all your particular conversations with one particular student 9 to 10 years ago, that's why you keep notes, right?
Well, I mean, you're trained to do it, so I had no choice. It's a part of the training, and if I wanted to be effective, I would, keep notes.
Okay. Now, so is it fair to say then you do not have day-to-day responsibilities for Nick Cruz, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. There's teachers who are with him every single day, correct?
Yes.
And there's security specialists or security monitors that are there every single day, correct?
Yes.
And even when you're not there, they're escorting him from class to class, correct?
Yes,
Okay. You used the phrase in deposition about staying in your lane. Do you remember using that expression?
I don't remember, but if I said it, it's there.
Okay.
It's taped.
And I think the context of staying in your lane is that you're a counselor, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not being rude, but for the court reporter, we like people to say yes or no. So,
Oh, yes,
so it's
sorry,
clear.
my apologies,
Those
yes.
hums don't show up so well.
Okay,
Okay, so you're a counselor, and I'm not going to say just a counselor, you're a counselor, correct?
correct,
Okay, so whatever is going on in the classroom, you're not witnessing it as a teacher, correct?
that's correct.
And you're not sitting in the classrooms like a behavior specialist might, correct?
Correct.
And did you know Miss LaTanya Fondren?
I'm not good with names, but maybe by face.
Okay. LaTanya Fondren was a behavior specialist at Westglades.
Okay.
Do you know who she is now when I say that?
No,
You still don't know her, okay. And you were a behavior specialist at one time, correct?
for half a school year,
Like 4 months, I think you told us, right?
probably, right, from maybe February to June.
Okay, that's 4 months. All right, so a behavior specialist, well, tell us, what does a behavior specialist do day to day?
Well, it was mainly like coaching the teachers and the staff on how to manage disruptive behaviors, maybe creating like a behavior plan where there's an incentive, a reward system involved so that the student can earn points towards receiving an incentive.
Okay, so I'm not sure if your job was the same as Ms. Fondren's, but it also can involve working with the student directly, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not just teaching the staff how to deal with a behavior problem. It's also sometimes sitting with the behavior problem, correct?
Correct, sorry, correct, yes, yes.
Did you know Ms. Fondren at one point was sitting in the classroom with the defendant 4 classes out of 6 a day? Did you know that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it didn't happen.
Okay. It wasn't, I don't believe it's in your notes, but you don't remember that a behavior specialist had to sit with him for 4 classes out of 6 a day. You don't know that, correct?
I'm going to say I don't remember. I'm not going to say I never knew it.
And I understand the 9 or 10 years, so the fact that I say you don't remember it or know it now, I don't mean any disrespect by it.
Okay.
Did you know Carrie Yon, a teacher, Miss Yon?
I don't remember.
And you don't remember speaking to her about the defendant, do you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Is it in my notes? Is that?
No, I don't believe it is.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you weren't aware of Miss Yon's problems with the defendant, were you? You couldn't be now, right? You don't remember it.
I don't remember that.
Okay. Did you know that Miss Yon was afraid of the defendant to be alone with him in his classroom? Did you know that?
I don't know.
Did you know that she wouldn't teach him unless there was an assistant principal or a behavior specialist in his room? She was an 8th grade language arts teacher. You're not aware of that, correct?
I'm not aware of that.
And of all his years, 8th grade was the worst, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, like you said, beginning of 6th grade, he was doing okay until the end of the 6th grade year, correct?
Correct.
And then 7th grade, his behavior started or continued what started at the end of 6th grade, and the 8th grade was the worst, correct?
8th grade was the worst, yes.
Okay. Now, you don't have a recollection of how the defendant got to Cross Creek, do you?
No, I don't. I know it was a process.
It was a process, but you don't feel you were involved in that?
I'm not going to say that. I don't remember. I don't.
Okay. Now, the process, you do know that if a student is going to be taken from a general education school like Westglades and go to Cross Creek, which is a more restrictive environment, correct?
Correct.
And it has behavioral problems as well as ESE services. It takes care of behavioral problems as well as ESE services at Cross Creek, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you're aware that the school, that is not your school because you had lots of schools, but Westglades would have to go through an ESE committee process to get him into Cross Creek, correct?
Correct. I knew there was a process, yes.
I'm sorry. Can you-
Yes, I knew that there was a process, yes.
Okay. And after going through that process, he was sent to Cross Creek, correct?
Correct,
Or-
after I'd already left.
Okay. Now, were you aware of a functional behavioral assessment that was done on the defendant?
I believe that there was one done, yes.
Okay. And let me show it to defense. State's Exhibit 27B.
Mr. Marcus, will you just repeat the identification number? I didn't hear you.
27B, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I'm sorry? Your Honor, at this point, 27B is self-authenticating document already from certificates. It represents SBBC 1057 through 1068. These are school board records. That's moving to evidence.
Does the defense have any objection?
No, ma'am.
All right, the court will receive what's been previously marked for identification as states 27B, as in boy, as states 485.
Your Honor, for the record, I'm showing Exhibit 26A to the defense. That's the holdup.
Wait, is that different than 27B?
State's Exhibit 26A.
This
The
is a
num-
separate, this is not what you just entered?
No, a separate.
Okay.
A second exhibit.
Thank you. States,
Sorry.
no, that's my fault, I misheard you. All right, states 26A is being shown. Got it.
Your Honor, the state would offer as a school record 8247, 8248, 8249, 8250, 8251, 8252, 8254, 8255, and 8256 school records as a composite exhibit.
Does the defense have any objection?
No, ma'am.
Okay, without objections, what's been marked for identification as states 26A, which is a composite exhibit, will be received as 486.
So I'm going to show you now what's marked as 485. Just give you an opportunity to look through it, and then I'll show it on the screen in a moment. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to flip through that, please.
You wanted me to review what, my indirect assessment, or?
No, I just wanted you to,
Okay.
first, are you familiar with that document? Do you recall it in any way?
No, I mean, I know it was conducted, but, yeah.
Okay, and it was finalized in November of 13, so right before you left, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I'll show you it on
Okay,
the screen portions of it.
all right.
Okay. When the information that you were testifying to this morning, much of that is based on your conversations with the defendant, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you ask him what happened. You might get a report that he's misbehaving in class, that he's laughing, correct? Something like that?
Correct.
And then you say, what happened, correct? You ask him about it?
Right.
Okay, and so then he gives you an explanation, like, I couldn't help it, I couldn't stop laughing.
Right, correct.
Okay. You don't, since you weren't there, you don't know everything that occurred in that classroom, correct?
Correct.
Okay, your role is a counselor, you're not the assistant principal.
Correct.
You're not there to decide, you're there to help him, you're not there to discipline him for what happened in the classroom.
Correct.
And you're looking for strategies for improving that behavior, correct?
Yes, correct.
And occasionally, and maybe more than on occasion, you would challenge him with, that's not a good explanation, Mr. Cruz, correct?
Correct.
And you would say things like, you can't laugh in the classroom, correct?
Correct.
And even if he says, well, I couldn't help it, that may not be true, correct?
I would challenge him on his abilities to make wise choices.
Okay, so turning let's see this. Okay, this is page 1062, Counselor. What is a functional behavioral assessment? Why don't you tell us what that is?
See, that's not my area. I'm not even going to speak on what, that whole thing, because I was not, it was an assessment, I guess, to put together a behavioral plan.
Okay, so you don't have specialized knowledge
No.
about a functional behavioral assessment.
No,
Can you assume it's information gathering?
right,
Okay, and it's probably informational gathering so that decisions can be made to improve his behavior?
As far as speculation, the witness has indicated she doesn't have the required foundation to testify about the contents of the functional behavioral assessment, and we'll put on other witnesses that can explain.
Okay,
oh, that'd be
she
cool.
can answer in general if she knows. If you know, ma'am, you can answer generally what it
Okay, well,
is.
repeat that, I'm sorry.
With the purpose of gathering information to try and learn and develop a plan for the defendant?
That, yes,
Okay, that much you do know for sure.
that much I know.
Okay, so are you aware that that information is gathered for the team to make decisions?
Correct,
Okay, and so anecdotal records would be part of the information gathering?
correct.
Okay, like on August 23rd, could you read the anecdotal records from both of them?
Okay, so there was a scheduled fire drill and the students were made aware of this before the fire alarm went off. Nikolas screamed and threw his books onto the floor when the fire alarm went off. He then proceeded to laugh about it. In between classes, a teacher observed Nikolas walked into his classroom, which wasn't Nikolas's class, kicked the recycle bin over and said, "F this school." He then took off running.
Okay. In regards to what he told you about laughing in class, is this example on August 23rd, 13 about laughing when there's a fire drill going off? Is that indicative to you that it wasn't something he couldn't control?
Do I think that he was in control of this day, his actions on this day?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. These are intentional behaviors, correct?
he made the choice to do that.
Okay. Did you ever discuss with him his fascination with guns?
No,
All right, that did not come up in a counseling
No.
session, did it?
no.
Could you read,
And
I'm sorry?
these are not my notes,
I know.
right?
No, they're not your
We've
notes.
made that clear?
They're not your
Okay.
notes.
All right.
Could you read the two notes from 9/4/13 and 9/11/13, please, to the jury?
Okay, there are three notes for 9, you said 9-4?
I'm sorry, the last two,
The last two for 9-4.
yes.
All right. Students were taken to the auditorium for...
Actually, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I misspoke. I meant the last two on the page.
Okay, so Nikolas drew questionable depictions on his vocabulary worksheet. Nick was asked to erase them and fix his work. Nick drew naked stick figures showing body parts and drew pictures of people shooting each other with guns. And that was 9-4. 9/11, Nikolas returned from being out of internal suspension after discussing and lecturing about the Civil War. In America, Nikolas became fixated on death and assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Some questions he asked were, what did it sound like when Lincoln was shot? Did it go pop, pop, pop really fast? Was there blood everywhere? After the war, what did they do with all of the bodies? Did people eat them?
And the subject matter of guns or killing was not part of your counseling sessions, was it?
No, it did not come up in the
Okay.
sessions.
You were unaware of those issues?
Yes, unaware.
You had mentioned this morning on direct examination, the defendant talking about him still being at the school. Do you recall that?
Him still I'm sorry, him being at the school?
Yeah, it's like, how am I still at this school? Do you recall that?
From reading some of my notes earlier?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what was he saying to you when he was saying, how am I still at this school?
When I surmised reading the notes was that he wanted to actually go to a different school.
Okay. And so was his behavior, was he acting out to get out of Westglades? Did he tell you that?
I think in that note that day, he was saying that he wanted to go to a different school. He couldn't understand why he was still there.
Okay, let me show you, again, this is from this same document. the
Okay.
Functional behavioral assessment, and this is not your note,
Okay.
from 9/27/2013, the bottom note. Can
The last one, the very last one?
Yes, the very last one.
Okay, so Nikolas behaved very well. However, he asked a lot of questions at the end of the class period, and was starting to get worked up. Another student also informed me, once Nikolas was escorted out of class, that Nikolas asks him all the time, how am I still at this school?
Okay. And that tells you that he's acting intentionally in order, whatever his goal is, it's to get out of that school.
It
Correct?
appears that way.
Okay. And I want to show you from the page 8 of this document of the the results of the functional behavioral assessment, middle of the page, on October 1st.
October 1st.
There's a mark on here. Oh, no, it's gone, thank you. 10/1 of 2013. Can you read that to the jury, please?
All of it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Nikolas refused to take out his warm-up. He kept opening and closing his umbrella in the classroom. Nikolas lost his work from yesterday. He crumpled it up and put it in his bag and could not find it today. I gave him a new sheet and he proceeded to begin his work. He then ripped it and wrote in very large, illegible handwriting on the paper. I tried to assist him and he stated, I don't want your help. When talking about figurative language, and I don't know what that is. You want to help me with that one?
Onomatopoeias?
That one. Nikolas shouted out, like a gun shooting. Nikolas will find any excuse to bring up shooting guns or violence. Nikolas was very defiant with instructions today. He had a hard time staying focused and was looking for any excuse to get up out of his seat or get attention. When another student commented on a writing assignment about writing about Jesus as their hero, Nikolas shouted, say that?
You can say.
BS. He was reprimanded and sent to another class in the classroom away from that student. Nick continued to make noise during SSR. Nikolas asked several times to use the bathroom. He was told repeatedly that he could if I called security to pick him up and asked if he would like to do so. He got frustrated and said, I hate security, I hope they die. Then he stated to me, F you, I called security to pick him up immediately.
So you were aware that he needed security to be escorted from place to place?
At one point I did, that was told to me, yes.
And you, I believe, testified about how he didn't like that.
Correct.
Okay. But he also wasn't going to change his behavior, was he?
It didn't appear that he was.
on the next page, well, I appreciate you reading it. Thank you.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you to read the first paragraph, and actually almost the whole page, but the first and second paragraph, please.
Okay, to be clear, I'm not reading the whole page, just first and second, right?
Right.
Okay, so during the last 20 minutes of class, we discussed the book, and I answered some questions about the book. I'm sorry, yes, and I answered some questions about the book. Nikolas began reading the last couple of pages of the book out to the students, intentionally trying to ruin the book for everyone else. I asked him to stop, and he told me that he dislikes the book, and then he stated, "I like guns. Can we talk about that?" Then he continued to read the book out loud again. I called security to have him removed and stood by the door so that he would not run out. This continuation on the 17th. Mr. Lindsay, assistant principal, observed in reading class. Nikolas was okay while Mr. Lindsay was there. After Mr. Lindsay left, Nick said, "Thank God he left. I don't like him." Nikolas did some work, but was throwing paper balls and cursing. He was able to be redirected somewhat. He also threw a pen cap and a pencil sharpener across the room at 2 students.
Could you remember Mr. Lindsay?
I do now, yes.
Is he, and I don't mean this in any negative way, is he a large man?
I don't remember him being a large man,
Okay.
no.
All right. And in this example with Mr. Lindsay, the assistant principal, being in the class, and the defendant was acting okay, and then he wasn't acting okay when Mr. Lindsay left the class. Does that tell you that he can control himself when he needs to?
It tells me that he has the ability to make wise choices.
And he knows not to act out in front of an assistant principal, correct?
Correct.
And he never acted out with you either, did he?
He didn't.
Okay. Somehow he was able to be in your presence as a counselor, and he didn't hit you, right?
Correct.
He didn't throw something at your head, did he?
He did not.
He was able to conform his conduct to what would be expected of him at that time, couldn't he?
He was cooperative.
But when he was in a classroom with students and female teachers especially, he would act out, wouldn't he?
According to what I'm reading, yes.
If you would please indulge me to the next 2 paragraphs.
So I am reading the whole page. Okay, so Nikolas
There is a
proceeded.
portion I'm going to say you can skip, so it won't be the whole page.
Okay. Nikolas proceeded to shout at me to answer a question. "What are you talking about? What? What?" He did this over and over again. I asked him to listen and to wait, and his response was, "Or what?" I told him that he would have to be asked to leave if he kept up this disruptive behavior. Nikolas then stood up in my classroom and stuck his middle finger up at a student across the classroom. As I walked over to the phone to call for security, Nikolas screamed, "No, don't," and ran across the classroom and took the phone and would not let me call security. I sent a student out of the class to tell another teacher to call for security. Nikolas attempted to call 911 on my phone, and when it didn't work, he banged the receiver against the phone several times. He eventually stopped and grabbed his belongings and ran out of the classroom. So continuing 1021.
Please.
Okay. The following was observed in Nikolas's reading class. Nikolas rushed to the door for another student and slammed the door and slammed his desk down. Nikolas gives another student the middle finger and says, "I'm bored." This, using profanity, is boring. Nikolas throws a pencil at another student and hit him. Nikolas cursed throughout class period. Teacher spoke to Nikolas about his behavior. She asked him why he was being so disrespectful. After their conversation, Nikolas calmed down some and began to complete some work. However, toward the end of class, he started blowing a party horn. Teacher asked him if it, period, he broke it and then gave it to his teacher. Oh, the teacher asked him for it. He broke it and gave it to the teacher, his teacher.
All the episodes that you've been reading, they have been maladaptive, antisocial behaviors in the classroom, haven't they been?
Correct.
And they're not only in front of the teacher, they're also in front of other students, correct?
Correct.
And so students are perceiving these violent, awful behaviors aggressive from the defendant, correct?
Correct.
I'm not going to ask you to read the whole one from 10:28:13, but down from the bottom, beginning with, let me move it up. I then asked him to stop cursing. Did you read that?
I'm sorry, where are we?
It's about, I guess, 3 paragraphs from the bottom.
Okay. Okay, I asked him to stop cursing and interrupting other students while they work. He told me, "You are creepy, just looking at me is creepy." I then asked him, "What would you rather be doing?" His response was, "I would rather be on the street killing animals and setting fires." He then ran out, and Mr. Austin was in pursuit to make sure he did not head out to Miss Watkins' portable.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Mr. Austin was a security officer at the school, wasn't he, or did you know who he was?
I don't remember.
Okay. And would you agree that talking about rather being on the street killing animals and setting fires, that is also antisocial behavior?
I would agree, yes.
Now, were you aware of all the referrals the defendant got while at West Glades?
I was aware that he did receive some referrals, but to the extent of the amount, no.
Okay. And what is the referral process like, if you know? Do you know how
When a teacher writes a behavioral referral?
Yes.
I don't know the process of it.
Okay. And why would a teacher write a referral if you know?
Disruptive behaviors, aggressive behaviors, student walking out of class without permission.
Okay. And including some of the things that you just read, those would be referral type situations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I think on the direct examination, they showed you a referral when he broke a sink in a bathroom. Yes. And that's a referral as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now showing you what's, I'm going to show it on the overhead. There's probably a more technical name for this, but that's what we used to call it, an overhead. State's Exhibit number 486. So the first one is from Coral Springs Elementary. I'm not going to address that. That was in elementary school. Would you agree that it begins with the school year 2012? There's a referral number for each incident, correct?
Correct.
And how many students are involved? So it's 1. The student would have a unique number, correct?
Correct, his student number.
Okay. The next would be the referral date, So would that be 2012 being the year, 05 being the month, and 15 being the day?
Well, this is the first time I'm seeing this, but yes, I would think so.
Okay. And then Nikolas Cruz is the name
Correct.
and the grade, correct?
Yes, correct.
And the time, of course, correct?
Correct.
And then there's a school number, 3871, representing West Glades Middle, correct?
Correct.
And then there is the reason for the referral, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And beginning with the one on May 15th, 2012,
Yes.
before we go into the reasons for referral, you had indicated that the end of 6th grade was when he began his misbehaviors, correct?
According to my notes, I believe that leading up to 7th grade, he started to really act out.
Okay. And so would this indicate to you May 15th of 2012 is the first one reflected in this document?
The first referral for that school year?
I'm sorry?
Yes. For that school year, the first
Yes.
referral written for, yes,
For 2012.
for 2012.
And the next one being May 17th of 2012,
Yes,
and then May 30th of 2012,
yes,
June 5th of 2012.
yes,
And the next one appears to be not until February of 2013, correct?
correct.
Okay. Are you able to get that mark off? Am I doing it?
Click on your X.
I'm sorry?
Click on your X on the screen.
I'm not getting that.
Yeah, you just did.
Oh, okay, now I have it. Ms. Flournoy, looking at the reasons for referral, beginning with May 15th, would you agree that this includes nasty language, cursing,
Correct, yes,
calling girls whores?
it says, called a girl in class a crazy, do I say it? I mean, I don't know.
Ma'am, if you're just reading a document, you're not going to offend me by reading the exact word that's
sure?
on the document. So
I don't want to disrespect anyone in this
you
courtroom.
are not going to disrespect. If you'd rather spell it, if you're more comfortable doing that, that's fine.
It's going to take a longer time to spell it, so I'm
Okay,
going to
so-
say it. Nick called a girl in class a crazy ass bitch.
Okay, and then later on in there, and excuse me if I'm saying words that you're not comfortable with. We're just quoting what was said. I'll just ask the question, and you can agree or disagree. Does it also say later during the same class, Nick yelled out whores when I mentioned 2 girls in the class?
It says that on here, yes.
Okay. And on the next one, there's more cursing, correct? The May 17th. The reason for referral?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the May 30th, more cursing, correct?
More cursing, yes.
And June 5th of 2012, the defendant called his teacher a name, correct?
He called his teacher by his first name.
Okay. All right, that's right. He called him Big P, correct? His name was Petey, correct?
We called him Paul first, and then the teacher insisted that he corrects the behavior, and then he referred to him as Big P.
Okay. The next one is another example of obscene language.
It's another example, yes, yes.
And the rest of the page is also obscene language in the
Correct.
classroom, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this point would just I'd like to allow the jury a chance to read the document.
Okay? I see them, many of them are squinting. Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Ms. Flournoy, are all the ones on the screen now, are they still from 2013?
We can't see
Yes.
this. Oh, maybe we can.
Yes.
The date on mine is cut off.
It's the line that starts on top, 2013-03-04. It's not, mine is not
Oh,
cut.
I see, I see. Please. Thank you.
Continuing to publish, this is page 8249. Page 8250. Now, the top of this page is to begin on September 4th of 2013 through October 22nd of 2013. Ms. Flournoy?
I'm sorry, the dates, yes.
Okay. Page 8251. Is this from October 29th, 2013 to December 12th of 2013? Ms. Flournoy, and on October 29, 2013, it mentions Ms. Yon, who we talked about. Were you aware he was drawing firearms and people being shot by firearms in Ms. Yon's class?
No.
Were you aware that Ms. Yon was so concerned with it that she kept those drawings and turned them over after the MSD massacre occurred in 2018? Were you aware of any of that?
No.
Page 8252, from December 17th, 2013 to January 24th of 2014. So by this time, you're not there, correct?
Correct.
And that's when the defendant went to Cross Creek, correct?
I don't know when he went, to be
Okay.
honest. I just know I left.
Okay. Now, Ms. Flournoy, I know that you were relying a lot on what the defendant had told you and things of that sort. Now you've seen a lot of referrals, functional behavioral assessment, a lot of reported behaviors about him where he was being aggressive, violent towards students and teachers, correct?
Correct.
Your earlier statement that he was not a bully, that's no longer correct, is it?
Correct.
Thank you. You were asked about a portion of your report of notes from May 23rd, 12, which I'll put on the screen. Page 2285, counselors. So you recognize these notes from May 23rd of 12, Ms. Flournoy?
Yes.
And you were asked about this on direct examination.
Yes.
Where therapist and student, I'm moving in a little bit, third line down.
Okay.
Therapist and student discussed the importance for him to pull himself together and to turn his behavior around. And you informed him that if he continues to demonstrate lack of self-control and administration, the ESE department may begin to wonder if the school is the appropriate setting for him, correct?
Correct.
And so you talked about a behavioral school or even an SED center. What's an SED center?
Severely emotional disability, I believe, I forgot.
Okay. And so Cross Creek is a behavioral school?
Your Honor, objection. It's not a behavioral school. It's a school for
Okay,
students.
what is your objection, please?
That's a mischaracterization of what Cross Creek School is. It's not a behavioral center.
Since that wasn't a legal objection, I'm going to just ignore it.
Your Honor, I'm objecting because Mr. Marcus is mischaracterizing the type of school.
It's for
that Cross Creek
behavioral
is.
problems.
Pardon?
It's for
Okay,
behavioral
he
problems.
can ask, are you asking the question? Are you asking her a question?
I'm asking her, was Cross Creek were you referring to Cross Creek as a behavioral school?
Okay, she can answer the question.
Probably, most likely an SED center.
Okay. So he asked you what was an SED center, just like I asked you, what's an SED center, correct? And you explained it to him, correct?
Yes.
And is it true that his response to your explanation was he doesn't want to go to a school like that, correct?
Let me read. I'm
Okay.
sorry. Right, he said he did not. He didn't want to go to a school such as that.
Okay, so is it fair to say that his response to what you said was a rational response, correct? He rationally responded to what you told him about a behavioral school, correct?
Correct,
He understood you, correct?
correct,
And you understood him when he spoke to you, right?
correct,
And for the 2.5 years you were his counselor, you were able to have conversations with him, correct?
correct,
And you could understand him, correct?
correct,
And he could understand you, correct?
correct.
He just didn't want to change his behavior, did he?
He didn't, but it was him making these poor choices, so it was,
He made poor choices, correct?
excuse me?
You're saying he made poor choices?
Yes.
Sorry, this is taking a little while. We're almost done.
Okay.
2289, counselors? I'm showing you now from page 2289, school records, and these again are your notes from October 14th, 2013. And the conversation that you have with him, if you want to look over the section under D, beginning with the IE academic,
Okay.
you can stop at counseling topic, or before that.
Okay.
So, Ms. Flournoy, do you agree that he was expressing concern about his grades, correct?
Correct.
And that you reviewed the grades on Pinnacle, that's the computer program?
It has all of the grades recorded on there. Mhm.
Okay, so you review it with him, correct?
Correct.
And he's only passing one class at that time, US History, correct?
Correct.
And so you print out his missing assignments for him, correct?
Correct.
And you and him make a plan to attack
Yes.
how he could potentially get caught up in these classes, correct?
Correct.
And so he told you he had a plan too, right?
According to the note, yes.
Okay. And so what was his plan?
His idea was to ask the teachers for extra credit work in an effort to bring up his grades.
Okay. So whether you agreed with that plan or not, that's not a bad plan, is it?
No, it was a plan. No, it's not a plan. Bad plan, no.
The defendant came up with that plan.
That was his idea, yes.
Okay. And you had another idea for him also because you're his counselor and that's what you do, right?
Correct.
Okay. But he was certainly able to recognize a problem and come up with a way to solve that problem, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to show you page 2302 now, your own notes.
Okay.
And this is going to be at the bottom of the page,
All right.
3/20/13. And you met with him that day, and he told you there might be a possibility he will pass his language arts class and science class, correct? For the
Correct.
third quarter?
For the third quarter,
And
yes.
did he tell you that the reason why he stopped regularly checking his grades is because he felt that if his ship is going to sink, he'd rather go down with the ship being known for something? You see that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, first of all, on direct, you said he was always checking his grades, but apparently he wasn't checking it always, correct? Especially when he thought he was doing bad.
Right. In the beginning, he did.
Right. So he does say that if he felt his ship is going to sink, he'd rather go down with the ship being known for something, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Flournoy, are you aware that 3 days before he committed this mass murder, on a video that he made of himself, he said, "Location is Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event, and when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am. You're all going to die. Can't wait." Were you aware he said that?
No.
He wanted to be known for something, even back in 2013, correct? And I guess he is now, right?
Sustained. Sustained, you don't have to answer, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing further.
Redirect.
I'm sorry, let's. This goes to pictures. I think that's evidence. I'm going to take some other evidence. Oh.
You testified on cross-examination that you were not aware of all of his referrals at
Not
Westgate.
to the extent, yes.
Okay. And you were not aware of all of the behavior that was documented in his functional behavioral assessment, right? You were not aware of all of
No.
that? Okay. And you weren't aware of all of the behaviors documented by his teacher, Carrie On?
Correct.
Okay. And were you aware that Ms. Yan took all of these detailed notes because her cries for help were being ignored?
No.
And were you aware that she kept all of these detailed notes because she was afraid that the school would inexplicably lose them or destroy them?
Objections are leading.
Sustained.
Were you aware of why she kept all those notes?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know. I don't even remember who the teacher is, to be honest.
Okay. Now, as his family counselor, would you have wanted to know about all of these behaviors?
It would have been helpful.
Okay. Was Nikolas transferred to Cross Creek because of his inability to succeed academically, socially, and behaviorally at West Glades?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Why was Nikolas transferred to Cross Creek?
When he was transferred after I left, I mean, West Glades obviously was not the appropriate setting for him. They did not have the necessary resources to be able to, assist the student. And that's just very clear.
Okay. And Mr. Marcus asked you about Cross Creek being a behavioral school. Is it in fact a behavioral school or is it something else?
I don't know.
Is it a school for children whose behavior is a manifestation of their emotional and behavioral disabilities?
Cross Creek, I don't know.
Okay. Is it a school for children whose poor choices are a manifestation of their mental illness?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't get an answer.
Okay.
If you don't know, it's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do academic demands increase as a child moves from grade to grade to grade to grade?
Yes.
Okay, what about social demands? Do they increase as a child moves from grade to grade to grade? What's expected of them socially is, you wouldn't, let me rephrase, I'm sorry. What would be acceptable for a child of 5 is not acceptable necessarily for a child of 15, right?
Correct.
So their social and behavioral demands increase.
Right. Age-appropriate behaviors, yes. Expectations, yes.
Okay. And you said that he went to Cross Creek because that's a school that can support the needs of an ESE student who behaviorally, academically cannot succeed at a traditional school, right? Is that what you said?
I said that? Okay. Yes.
Okay. So, in your opinion, is it your opinion that Nikolas could not meet the demands academically, socially, and behaviorally at West Glades Middle School?
Yes.
Okay, so why would anyone ever think he could do it in high school?
I left. Why are you,
That's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
patience. You're excused. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 10-minute recess. Please.